TNA Wrestling is seemingly teasing that AJ Styles could make his return to the promotion at this weekend's Slammiversary pay-per-view. We have the ratings for Saturday's edition of Saturday night's main event on NBC. The viewership information for last week's episode on Raw on Netflix has been revealed. Details on Samoa Joe being written off of AEW television at AEW All in Texas last weekend. CMLL is reportedly very happy when it comes to talent at the moment. We'll let you know why. Kevin Von Erich reportedly has been signed to an AEW Backstage Role. Hangman Adam Page is set to open tonight's AEW Dynamite after winning the AEW World Championship at All In. He's also set to be involved against his All In opponent Jon Moxley in a trios match tonight. Timeless Toni Storm will have a victory speech after retaining the AEW Women's World Championship at All In. Shuri made her AEW debut this past weekend, but is set to undergo elbow surgery later on this month. Tony Khan says that AEW is the wrestling he would love to watch as a kid, and Trick Williams opens up on the possibility of getting a main roster call-up in WWE whilst being the TNA World Champion. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's begin with the return, possibly, of the phenomenal AJ Styles to TNA Wrestling. Now, we are days away from TNA Slammiversary, but is there a chance AJ Styles could appear at the event? Current TNA World Champion Trick Williams has called out the phenomenal one, with the NXT star recently proclaiming himself to be the greatest TNA champion of all time. Speaking with PW Insider, Williams noted how he wants to wrestle Styles, saying, quote, "I want AJ Styles," Williams said. "I told Atlanta that I am the greatest TNA champion of all time, and the audacity of that crowd to turn and say AJ Styles? Completely disrespectful. There's only one way to get to the bottom of this. Give me AJ Styles. Let me prove myself. Let me show everybody how legit Trick Williams is. That's the one I want. Trick Williams versus AJ Styles." Now, for many, Styles is the greatest name in TNA history, and although AJ hasn't set foot in the Impact Zone in years, he has noted how he wants one last match inside of a TNA ring as he looks to wind down his in-ring career. Williams is set to put the TNA World Championship on the line against Joe Hendry and Mike Santana at Slammiversary on July 20th. With it being one of the biggest shows of the year for TNA, don't be surprised if Styles decides to show his face. In fact, the TNA president, Carlos Silva, has outright teased it even more. Now, due to high demand, additional seats have been opened up for TNA Slammiversary on Sunday, July 20th. The event will take place at the UBS Arena in Elmont, New York. TNA President Carlos Silva wrote on social media, quote, "We're moving the stage back to accommodate more fans. This event will be TNA's greatest achievement, and trust me, it's going to be phenomenal." Now, is that an AJ Styles reference? Of course, we'll have to wait and see this Sunday at Slammiversary. Now let's talk about the ratings for Saturday's edition of WWE Saturday Night's Main Event, the July 12th edition of Saturday Night's Main Event, the third such event of 2025, led in the key demographic ratings for the night, although it drew much less viewership than the last iteration. As per the Programming Insider, last Saturday's show drew an average total viewership of 1.425 million viewers on NBC, which was the 8th most watched show during prime time that night. However, the show's viewership dropped by a significant 28% compared to the last Saturday Night's Main Event in May, which drew 1.969 million viewers. The show ranked number one on both broadcast and cable in the key 18 to 49 demographic, scoring a 0.33 rating ahead of MLB games and the UFC Fight Night prelims. However, like the viewership, the rating was also down compared to the previous show, falling by an even larger 39%, as the last Saturday Night's Main Event had secured a 0.54 rating. Over 12,000 people were packed into the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia, to witness the 4 matches on the card, with the highlight being the match between Goldberg and Gunther for the latter's World Heavyweight Championship, which main evented the show. The match was Goldberg's final match in pro wrestling, and despite putting on a strong showing, he was submitted by the champion to end his career with a defeat. 3 other matches were on the card, which included Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre, which also featured musician Jelly Roll, a United States Championship match between Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso, and a singles match between Seth Rollins and LA Knight, where an injury to the former resulted in the match being cut short. Now let's talk about the viewership information for last Monday's edition of WWE Raw. Netflix has released viewership data for the July 7th edition of WWE Raw, which has witnessed a marginal increase in viewership from the previous week. According to Netflix via WrestleNomics, the show was watched by 2.6 million people across a 7-day period and ranked number 6 for English language shows for the period between July 7th and July 13th. As per the streamer, the July 7 show was ranked number 4 in the United States for the same period. The previous week's show, meanwhile, drew viewership of 2.5 million and ranked 5th globally and 3rd in the United States. The Sandman Season 2, The Waterfront Season 1, Sullivan Crossing Season 1, Seven Bears Limited Series, and Katie Taylor vs. Amanda Serrano 3 ranked higher than the July 7th edition of The Red Brand. The 2.6 million viewership is tied for the second lowest since Raw moved to Netflix at the beginning of the year, with the debut episode still holding the highest viewership at 5.9 million. The July 7 Raw was the go-home show for both the Evolution PLE as well as last week's Saturday night's main event, and the show was dominated by Seth Rollins and his new faction. Rollins, Bronson Reed, Bron Breakker, and Paul Heyman opened the show with a promo segment. Breakker then faced and decimated Sami Zayn, while Jey Uso faced the brunt of Reed's anger. The main event saw Seth Rollins face off against Penta, with the former WWE World Heavyweight Champion walking away victorious days before his match with LA Knight on Saturday night's main event. Now, a bit of an update here when it comes to Samoa Joe and his future on AEW television. At AEW All In, the Ops retained their World Trios Championships over the Death Riders in the opening match of the pay-per-view proper. However, after the match, Samoa Joe was beaten down and stretchered off. Fightful Select have been told there is a reason for that. Joe was scheduled to miss some time after AEW All In, as he's set to do some promotion for the upcoming season of Twisted Metal. Fightful haven't heard a specific amount of time that he's supposed to miss, outside of it being at least a couple of weeks. The new season of Twisted Metal releases July 31st on Peacock. Let's go over to CMLL, because life is good for stars of CMLL right now. According to Dave Meltzer, because the promotion's business is so hot at the moment, there has been a substantial increase in local promoters booking CMLL talent for their shows. Essentially, promoters of local shows in Mexico will bring in packages of CMLL wrestlers, with the in-demand Mystico being the big ticket package. According to Meltzer, CMLL talent is very happy due to how much work they are getting, and it's a very positive atmosphere backstage. However, the lower card talent that are being left off the Friday shows are not in such good spirits, as that's the biggest paying show of the week. Just getting on the Friday card can sometimes mean that mid or lower card wrestlers earn more than they would wrestling 2 or 3 shows in other arenas during the week. Another positive for top CMLL talent is being booked by MLW and AEW, who pay very well by Mexico wrestling standards. One CMLL star who has been attracting attention of WWE is Mascara Dorada, with the company reportedly monitoring the Luchador. Now, a story going into All In was that Kevin Von Erich is actually All Elite. AEW CEO Tony Khan has confirmed the backstage role of the Von Erich. Kevin's sons Ross and Marshall, who are also signed to AEW and currently reign as 2/3 of the Ring of Honor World 6-Man Tag Team Champions, recently revealed that their father had signed a Legends deal with the company. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Khan shared that Von Erich is working for the promotion as a coach, saying, quote, "Kerry was the first wrestler from the Von Erichs that I saw as a kid when he was called the Texas Tornado. The Von Erichs have a great history. Kevin works with us now as a coach, and his sons are part of AEW. They're also champions." Now, Kevin Von Erich got involved in the action at the All In 0 Hour show, where Ross and Marshall teamed with Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes to defeat Shane Taylor Promotions. Not only did he accompany the winning team to ringside, he also applied the famous Iron Claw hold to Anthony Ogogo at the end of the match. With All In taking place in Texas, the spot naturally got a huge reaction. Now, going to AEW Dynamite tonight, it's going to be opened by the brand new AEW World Champion. It was announced on social media that the new AEW World Champion, Hangman Adam Page, will open tonight's show in Chicago. It will be his first appearance since defeating Jon Moxley at All In this past Saturday to win the AEW World Championship for a second time. Quote, "AEW World Champion Hangman Adam Page will speak. We'll see the AEW World title on TV for the first time in 2025. New World Champion Hangman Page will speak live to open Dynamite before the main event versus Death Riders tomorrow, Tony Khan wrote on social media. Now, that match that he's referring to is a trios match set to main event AEW Dynamite tonight. 4 days after headlining All In, Hangman Page and Jon Moxley will meet in the ring once again. A trios match with Paige, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Mark Briscoe facing the Death Riders trio of Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta will take place this Wednesday on the All In Fallout edition of AEW Dynamite. The match was announced by Tony Khan in a social media post yesterday afternoon. Paige triumphed over Moxley in a Texas death match at All In, kicking off the second AEW World Championship reign of his career and freeing the title from the Death Riders. Moxley had kept the championship belt hidden away during his 9 months as champion. Following his title win, Paige sent out a thank you to the AEW fans and indicated he will speak on Dynamite this week. He said, quote, "Thank you for everything. I don't have the words to do the feeling justice because I haven't slept in 4 days, but I'll try and find them by Wednesday." In addition, we're going to be getting a victory speech from the AEW Women's World Champion. Tony Khan has added more segments to the lineup for tonight's AEW Dynamite. AEW Women's World Champion Timeless Toni Storm is now scheduled to give a victory speech on the show following her win over Mercedes Moné at All In on Saturday. Tony Khan revealed the news on Tuesday, writing AEW Women's World Champion Timeless Toni Storm victory speech after her win versus TBS champion Mercedes Moné in a bout between all-time greats. World Champion Timeless Toni Storm makes her victory speech. Now, following her win over Moné at All In, Storm appeared at a Prestige Wrestling event in Portland on Sunday. She took part in a meet and greet session and cut an in-ring promo setting up a match between Su Yung and Drexel. Now, an interesting update here when it comes to a talent that was actually working at All In. Shuri needs surgery. After making her AEW debut on Saturday at All In Texas at Global Life Field, Shuri is back in Japan and will undergo elbow surgery soon. She announced the news in a post to her Instagram stories on Tuesday, saying, quote, "I'm having surgery this month on my elbow, which has been hurting for a while." Now, shortly after losing the IWGP Women's Championship to Sarai in June, Shuri announced she was taking a sabbatical from Stardom to wrestle in the United States, although no US bookings were ever officially announced. A vignette promoting Shuri's debut aired at Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor on Friday. She was then a surprise entrant in the Women's Casino Gauntlet match on Saturday at All In. The day after All In, she posted to Instagram that she was headed back to Japan. Tony Khan, obviously a big fan of his own product. Tony Khan says AEW is the kind of wrestling he would have loved to have watched when he was a kid. The AEW president was a guest on the 1035 KISS FM's The Hot Tag on Tuesday and discussed his company's upcoming residency at Chicago's Aragon Ballroom. When asked what age group his promotion is geared towards, Khan responded, quote, "All ages. AEW, when I was a kid, is the wrestling I would love to watch." When asked if the kind of wrestling he loved as a kid was ECW, Khan answered, quote, "I absolutely loved watching that, and the first wrestling show I ever went to outside of Champaign, Illinois was actually in Philadelphia, was ECW. The first 2 shows I ever went to outside of Champaign were back-to-back, outside Philadelphia Friday night, and then Philadelphia Saturday night in the ECW arena, and it was fantastic stuff. The late great Sabu passed away recently, and I actually saw his stretch match with RVD." Khan also spoke about running ECW shows in the Aragon Ballroom and told a story about how, growing up, his friend Todd would fancy book running events from the venue. Quote, "I grew up in Champaign, Illinois, and when I was 12 years old, I started writing a show in an email thing with my friend, and we would write shows and email them to each other. We drafted all the wrestlers and split all the wrestlers in the world up. We wrote our shows, and mine was Wednesday Night Dynamite, and his was a show at the Aragon Ballroom. He called it Aragon Ballroom, and we're bringing it to life. My buddy Todd." Khan also says AEW is heading into its residency at the Aragon Ballroom after putting on the best show the company has ever done. Quote, "It was the best show we've ever done, AEW All in Texas. It's the biggest pay-per-view we've ever had on Amazon Prime and one of our biggest pay-per-view shows ever. One of our biggest crowds ever, the biggest crowd AEW's ever had on this continent in North America ever. It was just a great experience. Fans live were great. The show was great. The wrestlers fought so hard. One of our biggest rivalries, the best night, and we set up tomorrow night. We're here in Chicago, and we're beginning a 3-week stay." And finally, Trick Williams has had some comments regarding being the TNA World Champion. Trick Williams has addressed the idea of a possible WWE main roster call-up while holding the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Earlier this year at NXT Battleground, Trick Williams would challenge for the TNA World Championship, defeating Joe Hendry to win the championship, which he still holds. While speaking to the Battleground podcast in a new interview, Trick was asked about potentially being called up to the WWE main roster as TNA World Champion, with Williams stated that'd be beautiful. Quotes, "Man, that'd be beautiful. I mean, nothing would change. I mean, I just got a book a flight from Thursday night to Friday if it's on SmackDown. That's the only thing that'd be different. But man, I wear this gold with pride, man." Contrary to the belief, Twitter's also saying that this is just a vanity project for Trick Williams and he doesn't really care about the brand. TNA is just a side quest. No, man, I'm proud to be the TNA champion. Look at the history that's been done there. You know what I mean? I'm proud to say that after everything, the AJ Styles, the Samoa Joes, the Mooses, you know what I mean? The Bubba Ray Dudleys, you know, Kurt Angle. When you look at all of these greats, I'm able to say that Trick Williams is the best of them all. That's a big deal. No, I really do take pride in that, man. So when people try to downplay my investment or, you know, how much I love the brand, I mean, I really do bleed Trick NA. So there you go, guys, the latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.